Okay, so for these questions here that are in your book, your first question is 2x squared equals 7x. I was going to make it bigger, but I think this is okay. So 2x squared equals 7x. So we have two terms here. What you should do is bring your terms together. In each question, you should have the form ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. So try to get every question into this form if possible. Right, so that means that the 7x will need to come over to the other side. So subtract 7x from both sides, like that, and that will cancel. So you'll have 0 on this side. Because it's binomial, we'll look for a common factor here, which will be x. And then you'll have 2x minus 7 equals 0. Okay, so just factorize out the x. So that's telling you that either x equals 0 for the first solution from this one, or 2x minus 7 equals 0. So from that one, we'll say that 2x equals 7, and then x is 7 on 2. Okay, so that's 3.5. So that's your first solution there. So 0 coming from this factor here, and then x 7 on 2 coming from this factor here. Okay, so probably the simplest question you're going to get. That's a binomial question, only two terms. So this one here, it looks like, well, it looks kind of complicated because you've got really big numbers, but you should observe that these can be written as power 2, can't they? So that's the first thing that we see. So we suspect maybe it's a perfect square, okay? Because we can write this as 4x all squared, and 49 is 7 squared. Okay, so now we need to check this middle term, because what we're looking for is a squared plus 2ab plus b squared, which is a plus b all squared. So we're looking for this form here, which means that we need to check this middle number here. So we'll have 2 from the formula. Then we have a, which is 4x, and b, which is 7. And we check the middle term here. So 2 4s are 8, 7 8s are 56. So this middle term is okay, which means you can write that as 4x plus 7 all squared equals 0. And remember, this here is the perfect square. So you're only going to get one solution for x. So if you like, you can write out it fully as, let's fix that up. You can write that fully as 4x plus 7, 4x plus 7, if you like. You don't need to do that, but that's what it looks like, doesn't it? Because it's a power 2. So from each case, you're going to get x equals minus 7 divided by 4 from each of those ones there. Okay, so that's your solution for that one. Minus 7 on 4. Now in the next question, I had an error. I typed an error. I put 14 in here. And I'm not sure your textbook, but definitely 14 is not correct. I can't remember what happened here. I can't remember if this is my typing error or an error in the book, but this should be 13. Okay, so if it's not 13 in your book, change that number to 13. Otherwise, it doesn't work. So I'll write it again anyway. So you've got x squared minus 13 on 4x plus 3 on 4 equals 0. Now, the problem here is the fraction, all right? When you've got fractions, we got a bit of a problem. We want to get rid of these two fractions here. So you do that by multiplying everything by 4. Okay, multiply each term by 4. So each term by 4, because you've got 4 here and you've got 4 here. So if you multiply by 4, these will disappear. So we'll do it here. If you multiply here by 4, 4, 4, and 4 on the last one. Don't forget the last one. So in this case, you're going to get 4x squared. This 4 will cancel that 4. That's why I did it. 13x. And then this 4 will cancel this 4. You'll get 3, and 0. 0 times 4 is 0. Okay, so in this case, we'll practice the AC method because we got a number here which is not 1. So let's use the AC method from last week. And AC would be 4 times 3, isn't it? Which is 12. So I'm multiplying the first number and the last number. Remember, that's A, B, C. Okay, so in this case, B is minus 13. So these are your two important numbers, 12 and minus 13. So you're looking for two numbers that when we multiply, we will get 12. And when we add, we'll get minus 13. So this is looking like it's going to be minus 1 and minus 12. Let's just see which order I've done things. Okay, so minus 1, minus 12. So minus 1 times minus 12 is 12. Minus 1 plus minus 12 minus 13. So these are your two numbers that you need, minus 1 and minus 12. And remember, we're using those two numbers to change this middle term here. So we're going to write that out as 4x squared. And I'll put the minus 12 first. Minus 12. Sorry. Minus 12. And then minus 1, minus x. Okay. Plus 3 equals 0. So I changed my middle term, minus 13, to minus 12x minus x. So this is your minus 13 here, that middle number. So now we can do our grouping method here and here. So your common factor here will be 4x, x minus 3, minus x minus 3 here. Notice how I put a bracket, and then this plus 3 became minus 3 here. So then your common factor is x minus 3. And you're left with 4x minus 1. There's a 1 there. So 4x minus 1 equals 0. And after that, we'll just find our x value. So in this case, x will be 3 from the first term, because 3 minus 3 is 0. And x here will be minus 1 will come over to be 1. And then we divide by 4, like that. So again, you would have 4x minus 1 equals 0. 4x equals 1. X equals a quarter. Okay, from that, you don't really need to show this work because I think it's easy enough to go to this step here. So those are your two answers for that one, 3 and a quarter, and put them back in and check your solution later. Back to the original equation. Got that okay? So I'll leave it there a bit if you're copying. So for the next one, we've got a quadratic, but it looks like we need to expand this. Okay, so let's multiply it out. So we've got 2x times x, 2x squared, 2x times minus 3, minus 6x, minus 1 times x, minus x, minus 1 times minus 3 is plus 3. Now the 7 will come over to become minus 7 equals 0. So it's starting to look like a quadratic now. So we'll have 2x squared minus 7x, 3 minus 4, 3 minus 7, that's minus 4, equals 0. Okay, so we have a 2 here, so we'll try our AC method. So AC will be 2 times minus 4, that's minus 8. And B is minus 7. So the two numbers you want, multiply to be minus 8. And add to be minus 7. So that's going to be minus 8 times 1, looks like it. So minus 8 times 1, minus 8. Minus 8 plus 1, minus 7. So this looks okay. So these are your two numbers where we use to change the middle term. This one here. So we'll have 2x squared minus 8x plus x, which is minus 7x, minus 4 equals 0. So that there is the same as minus 7. Let's move this up a bit. Okay, so now we'll do our grouping method. Hope you're following okay, because you'll do some in a minute. So here, the common factor is 2x. You'll have x minus 4 plus x minus 4 equals 0. So that there is here, that is there. So now you see your common factor is x minus 4. So we'll write that in the front. Multiplied by 2x plus 1. Like that. So then we'll end up with x equals 4. 4 minus 4 is 0. So 4 and minus a half from that one, from the second factor. So 4 and minus a half for that solution. Okay, getting it now? It's not really that difficult, but it just takes a little bit of practice. And remember, not every question can be factorized. But your first worksheet, I'm going to try and send it in a couple of days, but I want to go through this first before you get the sheet. So maybe tomorrow, I might even send it today, but that just means you have more time to do it anyway. So, okay, so this one again looks like AC method because you've got 6 here and not 1. Okay, so let's do AC. So 6 times minus 6, minus 36. So the numbers you're looking for, multiplied to be minus 36. And the B value in the middle is 5. So the two numbers will add to be 5. So in this case, you're going to have 9 and minus 4. So it takes a little bit of guessing. but you'll get there eventually. So 9 and minus 4. 9 and minus 4. These must be the same numbers in both sets. So minus 4 times 9, minus 36. 9 minus 4 is 5. So these are the two numbers you want to split the middle term with. And I put the 9 first. So you have 6x squared plus 9x minus 4x minus 6 equals 0. Yeah, so notice how that 5 becomes 9 minus 4 using your two numbers here for the middle term. So at this point, again, we will group by factoring, or factor by grouping rather. So we will factorize this as 3x, 2x plus 3 minus 2, 2x plus 3 for this last one here. This is that one there. Okay, I assume you're getting it. It just takes a bit of work. So this is your common factor now, 2x plus 3. Then you are left with 3x minus 2. There, equals 0. Okay, so that would mean your solutions are minus 3 on 2 and 2 on 3. Okay, looks all right. So they're your solutions there for x. You can highlight that too if you're using a tablet. The main thing that when you're doing this work, I'm still having trouble reading some of your writing. So at least what you should do is in the last question, make this quite big, your solution, this bit here. So when you're writing this out in your tablet, make this in bigger, write it a bit bigger and maybe a bit darker. Okay, so larger and darker. When you write your final answer, that's when you write your solution in your tablet. If you take a photo of sheets, it's okay, I can read it all right, but it's a problem when I edit, because when I edit your work, it becomes a bit blurry using my tablet. It's probably a problem with the tablet. It's not something you can fix, but the main thing that you write your solution larger and darker so I can read it properly at the end. So that would be good. Some of you write a little bit small, but I'll try to leave more space so you can write a bit bigger. Okay, so let's look at this next one. So in this case, we've got a fraction down here, 5. So it looks like we could multiply everything by 5 to get rid of this here. So you're going to get 25x squared minus 10x equals 8. So that 5 is multiplied everywhere. And that one will cancel that one. So we end up with this. So we'll bring the 8 over. 25x squared minus 10x minus 8 equals 0. So this one's a little bit harder because the numbers are like quite large. And we can't factorize anything else out here to make them smaller. So AC is going to be 25 times minus 8, which is minus 200. And B is minus 10. Like that. So we want two numbers that multiply to be minus 200 and add to be minus 10. Like this. So let me check my solution here. So it looks like we're going to have 20, actually minus 20 times 10. Yeah. So minus 20 times 10 minus 200 minus 20 plus 10 is minus 10. So these are your two numbers here. And we change that middle number using them here. So we'll put the minus 20 first. So 25x squared minus 20x plus 10x minus 8 equals 0. Okay, just like before, but the numbers are a little bit bigger. So it takes a bit of time to do it. Like that there. Okay, so then do your grouping. Yeah, 25. So I think this is going to be 5x. You have 5x minus 4 plus, looks like 2, doesn't it? 5x minus 4 equals 0 for this one here. And that's that one. So 5x minus 4 is your common factor. Where's my pen gone? There. Can't see it. I'll just do that. Okay, so 5x minus 4. 5x plus 2. So you'll end up with, well, that's equals 0. So you'll end up with x is 4 on 5 and minus 2 on 5 for that solution from these two factors. Okay, so that's that one there. Now the next one, if you look at this, now if you try to solve this, you're going to have a problem. You're not going to be able to get a solution to this, a real number solution. So it's not subtraction, is it? Which would be x minus 10, x plus 10. Okay, it's not that because you have plus. So we don't use this rule. But if you think about that and you write x squared equals minus 100, now you need to think what number can you square and get a negative number? Okay, can you square any number and get a negative number? Because what happens when you square numbers? Minus 2 squared is 4, it's positive. And 2 squared is 4, also positive. Whenever you square numbers, you're going to get a positive answer. Okay, but this is negative. So this has no real solution. We can do it using what they call complex numbers, but you don't do that till about grade 11. So this has no real solution. There's no number that you know of from the number line that when you square it, you'll get a negative number. This is not possible because whenever you square negative numbers, you always get positive answer. So I'll write that here, squaring any number gives a positive answer. TIBE, positive answer. So if you tried this in your calculator, so we've got x squared is minus 100, and then we square root both sides, x will be plus or minus root minus 100. But if you do this in your calculator, and you can try that yourself, you'll get an error. Okay, because there's no number exists that when you square it, you'll get an answer. So you can't square root negative answers, negative numbers. Okay, so in this case, there's no real solution for that one. So you don't need to try and solve that one. When we do quadratic formula later, we'll see what's going on there a bit more. Okay, so some questions are difference of squares. So use your rule. Don't expand this because it takes too long. You can expand it fully, but you're going to end up taking too long to do this problem. Okay, but what you see that you have is a squared minus b squared, right? Which is a minus b, a plus b. So we'll use this method to factorize it. It'll be much easier. So a minus b, this here is a. Is my pen gone? It disappears. Hold on a minute. Hopefully I'll stop talking in a minute. There it is. Just to be a minute. All right. So a minus b, this is a, and this is b here. So you go to x plus 7 minus x minus 5, x plus 7 plus x minus 5. Equals 0. So you're going to get x plus 7 minus x plus 5 here. And then you're going to get x plus x, which is 2x. 7 minus 5 is 2, equals 0. So in this first factor, your x will cancel. So 7 plus 5 is 12. 2x plus 2 equals 0 here. So you're going to get, the 12 gives no factor. So you got 2x plus 2 equals 0. 2x equals minus 2. So x is minus 1. Minus 1 for that one there. Okay, so that's one way you can do it. You can expand this fully, but it takes a long time to do that. And you'll end up with this anyway. Okay, if you try that. That's question 8. You're going to do some in a minute. Maybe this has taken a while. This one you could expand again, but what you notice that we can use difference of squares to do it. So 2x minus 3 squared minus 23 equals 0. We can make this a square. 2x minus 3 squared minus root 23 equals 0. And then we're going to have, oh, and that's also squared. Root 23 squared is 23, okay? Like that. So this is what you can do when it's not a perfect square. So then you're going to end up with your factors being 2x minus 3 minus root 23, 2x minus 3 plus root 23 equals 0. And when we solve that, I'll just give you the answer here because we're a bit low on time. So x will be 3 plus root 23 on 2, 3 minus root 23 on 2, by just simplifying these here. So these are, you can make them a decimal if you want as well. Okay, they can become decimals if you calculate them. I think I'll leave these for now because I want you to do a bit of work and I'll come back to these later. So let me mark those off for the next class because you won't need these ones just yet. 11, otherwise I'm going to talk for too long. So what you can do you see exercise 1 here in your book or on your tablet? Okay, I'll get you to work on these for a while. You can write your working on the side or whatever, but I'll just give you the answers here. And we only have 15 minutes to do this. So see if you can get through that first table now. So 15 minutes. And I'll give you the answers in 15 minutes. I won't do all the working though, because it takes a while. But if you want the first question, we have a binomial. These two are binomials. So you can solve these by factorizing. So you would have 2x squared minus 8x is 0. So factorize out the 2x. X minus 4 equals 0. So x equals 0 and 4. That first one's done. So that's it. That's all you need to do. Some of these you may need a bit of space. You can just write on the side here if you're using a tablet. I'll go through a few of the solutions now, just so you can check what you're doing. In question 2 here, we can factorize the 3x. And you'll end up with x plus 7 equals 0. So in this case, x will be 0 and minus 7. So you should have got 0 and minus 7, question 2. X squared minus 7. You can do this by difference of squares. I could write that as x squared minus root 7 squared. If I was asking by factor method, which this section is about, factoring, this is the way we would do it. So then we'd have x minus root 7, x plus root 7 equals 0. So x will be plus or minus root 7 for the answer. Plus or minus root 7 for that one. In this case, this is the problem where we have no solution, because you'll end up with x squared equals minus 25, and you'll end up with x is plus or minus root negative 25. And check in your calculator, this has no real solution. It has a solution, but not a real one. And that's something you'll learn more later about these kinds of problems. Now in this one, this actually is a complete square, this one. We could write this one as x minus 1, x minus 1 equals 0. Minus 1 times minus 1 is 1, and minus 1 plus minus 1 is minus 2. So that's a perfect square. So x here will equal 1 for that one. There's only one answer to that, 1. And how about this one? 4x squared minus 5x equals 0. So just bring your 5x over. Now we factorize x, 4x minus 5 equals 0. So x will be 0 or 5 on 4 for that one. So if you haven't done them or you're a bit slow, you can copy these down now. So at least you have something to look at when you do the worksheet. Okay, so these ones can be done fairly quickly. This question, we got A, well, the A value is 1. So we got multiply to be 8, minus 8, add to be 2. So that's going to be 4 and minus 2. So x, it's going to be, x plus 4, x minus 2. So 4 times minus 2, minus 8, and 4 plus minus 2 is 2. So these are your two factors. So x will be minus 4 and 2 for that one. Yeah. This one's interesting. You notice that if you move the y squared will cancel, doesn't it? So you end up with minus 5 equals 4. Now that doesn't make sense, does it? Because minus 5 doesn't equal minus 4. So this actually has no real solution either. I'm not sure even it has a complex solution, but that means that whatever you put into y, it's going to be wrong. Okay, so let me get my pen back. My computer's slow. All right, so in question 9, we'll end up with, when we factorize 2c minus 3, c plus 1 equals 0. So this can be the AC method here. Use the AC method. You'll get these two factors here. You try that. So then C will be 3 on 2 and minus 1 for this problem. Now this question will be a binomial, but let's have a quick look. We're going to end up with 2x squared, 8 minus 48, that's minus 40. Equals 0 when I change this problem. Here the common factor will be 2. X squared minus 20 equals 0. Now this is a difference of squares here. So you could write that as x squared minus root 20 squared equals 0. So your factors will be x minus root 20, x plus root 20 equals 0. And then x here will be plus or minus root 20. And plus or minus root 20 is 2 root 5. If you put root 20 in your calculator, you'll get 2 root 5 come out. I'll talk more about that later, those kinds of numbers. So that would be your answer for the last one. So these are your answers, and we've run out of time. So we'll continue tomorrow. So tomorrow you should be ready to do some of these problems down here. Okay, so I'll stop sharing now because we've run out of time, and then you can, I'll send the worksheet soon anyway, so you can get working on that. Okay, so you can do some already. I've shown quite a bit already, but I think tomorrow we'll finish this section tomorrow.